All right. Welcome, everyone. Let me set this up properly. How are you? Welcome, Simulation Talk 256. How is everybody evening? You're slowly drawing. Hope you can hear me. I think you should be able to hear me. Should be fine. All right. Let's make sure that the sound sounds good. Yes, looks pretty legit. How are everybody doing? Sounded like AI for a second. What's up, Val? And Ebony and Chris and Guru. All the OGs are here. Okay, well then, in that case, we're good and we can start. What's up, everybody on TikTok? King Grati and Justin. Should be a fun little conversation today. Let's see how we're doing on Twitch. If you guys want to follow on Twitch, it'll be LaserX83 on Twitch. Come join us. How do we look? Let's see. Pathophilia. Okay, I will not understand this. I don't get it. I don't get it. What's up, Carter? How you doing, brother? How's everything doing? How's everything doing? That's a good sentence. Okay, Simulation Talk 256 is on the go. My brain doesn't work language today, so it's okay. Let's see what we can approach today. Let a couple more people trickle in. Thank you, Ebony, for joining from Twitch. I'm glad to hear, Chris. Okay. What should we talk about today? I'm just a cool cat, bro. That's how it goes. All right. Ooh, that sounds inviting, Guru. Produce market. You got my appetite going. Oh, right, because it's the 4th. Oh, man, I'm so excited. People are still excited about the 4th. That makes me excited that people are excited about the 4th. Woohoo! Go America, baby. Winding down. Got to introduce several new communities to our work. It is very exciting times. A lot of fun things are happening. Today we had a wonderful conversation with David, who's the creator of this wonderful video that I shared. I shared, but Carter shared with me. So he's the one that made me aware of that beautiful video about with the illustrations about the future. As a project Luminosity. I'm so terrible with names. I gotta get better at this. Well, thank you, Pancho Villa. I appreciate it. America, fuck yeah! And now we're just gonna be canceled on TikTok just because we sang that song. I'm pretty sure if you sing that song, TikTok just explodes. I don't know how mine did it. Hold on. Making sure the dogs are not at each other's throats is important. Okay. Where were we? What's up, Funk Worm? We're terrible at name. Carter can help me. He will correct me. Oh my god, so sorry. Okay. Can't wait to have just just a studio where I can just. What's up, Flower Gunners? Good to have you. Val is in the house. Serious Business is saying I'm doing great. Hope you all are as well. Yes, we are. Power Off is in the house. So today I had a lovely discussion with David and now with Carter. Well, Carter was there too, but with the other David, we had a fun discussion back and forth about frames and perceptions and I don't know. The thing that came to my mind that seemed important was, you like the Bruce Lee shirt? It's one of my favorites. One of my favorites. One of the OGs. I think I said it before in the live. I always feel very proud because a friend of mine designed this a long time ago. I had this shirt a year before it hit the markets, which was like what, 10 years ago, I think. And then it kind of got revived all the time, which is a really cool designer. Anyway, one thing that was important or felt important is, how do you know that your frame is one that will lead to positive results? And it's not it's not an easy thing to consider, because sometimes we're not even aware of our frames. We're not even thinking about that in any serious way. We're just kind of like going through life. But we all have a frame. We all have kind of like a goal, a perception, a philosophy of what we think the world is, which makes us do certain things and not do other things. What excites us, what makes us upset, all of these things are due to our world models, world perceptions. So how do we know that our world model is conducive to human progress and all that good stuff? It's kind of hard to say. And today, from the deep analysis conversation, by the way, I'm going to be bringing David to my podcast. I'm going to be starting a new offshoot series inside of my podcast. It's only going to be dealing with this kind of subjects, like the future of humanity. How do we aim there? Like exciting, inspiring conversations. That's all I want to bring to that conversation. Now we'll see if it's going to take over the whole channel. We'll see. I'm not sure, but I want to create a whole series just for that, and it's going to be designed for that. So I think he's going to be my first guest in that show, and that's going to be exciting. And I think that what became clear to me in the conversation is that there are a few parameters with, I don't know what you want to call them. We can call them frames. These frames that are more conducive for human prosperity. And I think there are a few key things that we can identify. Now, it's not a fully formulated thought yet, so I'm going to be kind of exploring as I go. I'm glad you feel that way, Flow Gutters. What do you get out of all this simulation stuff? Like, what can you discover far from that? I'm not sure what you mean by far from that. Hold on, there's a few comments here. So somebody said, I'm talking word salad like Kamala Harris. We kind of look alike, don't we? Can I pass for Kamala? Like if I show up at a conference and I say I'm Kamala Harris, do you think they're gonna let me in? I've never gotten Kamala Harris before. That's a new one. So pure crystal refracting, like gas language based on light. I'm not sure what that means. If I shave, okay, well. What's beyond the simulation and the theories? I mean, that's a deep question, and yes, I guess kind of the lives are for that. But I've approached this subject before quite a bit, and in fact, if you want the most in depth outline of that, if you go to Dango Thoughts, Dango Thoughts on YouTube, my second video ever on this topic, covering this exact question with a lot of fun graphics and things like this. So you might get a kick out of it. So if you go to Dango Thoughts and you search for uno momento por favor, it's something that Kamala Harris would say. Kamala. Oh man, that was a while ago, huh? So, second video I ever put out on this topic, and the title of it is "It's coming, I promise." Dude, what? Where's my videos? Where are all my videos? There it is. Second video I ever put up on this topic, and go to Dango Thoughts on YouTube. Oh, you know what? If you're on TikTok, you don't even need to do that. I believe that video is actually in my link tree. If you just click the link tree on my profile, and it's called name of the molecule. Not gonna say it because of TikTok. Laser experiment reveals visible code. Where do we go from here? It's a purple thumbnail with my face on it, looking very hopefully into the future. So there's a lot of stuff that it has to do with why I believe the simulation is unfolding, what is it about, and all that good stuff. And there's no way I'm going to be able to do it as much justice as that video does, because there was a lot of work that went into that video. So there you go. And then we can, you can catch up there, and then we can have a conversation about it. So what came to be interesting, I'm just going to kind of keep going with my rant, and then I'll address questions later. So what came from to me to be one of these, some of these parameters that we can identify in our own frames that can be either conducive or less conducive for human progress is, I'm doing great, CJ. I'm glad to see you here. First of all, is your frame suppressing other frames? Now that sounds like maybe one that should be a given, but it might not be that clear just from first glance. Sometimes it seems like, what do you mean? Like very open-ended, right? Like people say, for example, we just like, the whole agenda of protecting the biosphere, which is an important agenda. It's an important thing. It's important that we protect the biosphere. But depending on where you are in the development and how much that impinges on other things, is it as by itself as a frame, as a focus, as a goal, is this suppressing other frames, or is it include more frames that it suppresses? I don't know. Question, right? But if you ask yourself this question honestly, you might get an answer you're uncomfortable with, or you might get an answer that is very good. Like you're like, hey, yeah, it includes a lot of frames. And I was kind of looking at I was analyzing my own frame, right? I was kind of judging my own perception of what I think the future of humanity should be. And mine is always, as you guys probably know, is kind of like this vision of becoming a more enlightened species and then exploring the stars with a more enlightened attitude, and therefore bringing more enlightened technology into the universe. And is this frame precludes other frames or includes more frames? And I think at least on this account, the frame that, at least the way I'm envisioning it, it includes basically all other frames. Like it would include obviously the protection of the biosphere that we do have, because if you can't do that, there's no way you're going to be able to do it when you go out there into the stars. You're just going to keep doing this, making the same mess everywhere you go. So, at least in that regard, I feel like it kind of includes more frames than it precludes more frames. Another parameter I feel like that should be in place is how much inspiration and how much execution is possible through the frame, because there's always this line between what is possible to do through your perception of the world in this or another way, and how much of that inspires people to do something in the world. Let me see. fisherman's and or pirate's frame is very narrow. That's mostly because they have an eye patch. It narrows your worldview. Technological society. Um, Interesting. Godhead, Guardian. I'm not sure that I'm fully getting it. Is that names of books? J. Paul is saying, do you postulate the code is responsible for what function of our reality? Is it visual, tangible, physical experience, both? I think if I have to make a guess, it's all of it. All of it. And yeah, please come join our Twitch now that there's more people. LaserX83 is our Twitch. Come join Twitch. And you can check out our website, of course, codeofreality.com, which will give you access to all the stuff that we're working on. Lasers, merch, which if you want to get yourself some fun merch, it will definitely help the cause. You'll get this beautiful mug. Woohoo! Can't find the shirt for some reason. Well, that's the shirt that is on the website with the logo and the code. And come join our Discord community, of which we have an incredible community of people exchanging ideas on Discord. You can find the links to that both on YouTube and on TikTok. It'll be exciting to see you there. What's up, Diego? So then, I'm just making sure at the same time I'm not missing too many questions, because I do know that when I go on my rants, I tend to basically ignore most people's comments because I can't do both. Not that smart, I guess. No, I think we kind of covered most of it. So yeah, so the next thing would be, is it inspiring people? Well, I don't know, I kind of feel like it does, but I have to admit that I can't know across the board if it really inspires as many people. Like, it inspires me quite a bit, but it's kind of hard to know. And I think that if more people would develop frames that are more, I guess, further casted and ones that aim towards higher inspiration, we would very quickly, I'm pretty sure, we would see a very different kind of attitude from people, because the exchange of ideas would be around things that are very inspiring, that's sparking new ideas that we want to build, that we want to collaborate around, versus ones that are constantly in competition with one another. I feel like a lot of times people feel like, the common example that I've given before is, why are we going to space or to Mars if there's so many things to fix here? Which, of course, one has nothing to do with the other. Well, they're not mutually exclusive. In fact, one, if anything, one feeds into the other. The technologies we develop in both can be applicable toward in two directions. So I think that these are the two frames that I've identified. The two elements in frames that are very important. Are they including or precluding other frames? Because they're precluding more frames than they're including, then it's probably not the best frame, or it needs to be expanded. And how inspirational it is to how many people, and how many people does it help? Where's the call to action here? Like, what is the thing that actually helps people to execute and do something about it versus just kind of like thinking about it? Now, this is something that I'm opening up because it is an interesting conundrum for me, because it's not an easy one. And so in the next maybe few days, it'll be fun to explore what people think. And maybe you guys can tell me a little bit about your frames, or about how you feel your perception of the world is either empowering, or if you land on the conclusion that it's maybe precluding more frames than you realized, maybe you outlining that would also be interesting to hear about. So I just wanted to put it out there for us to think about together, something to chew on, instead of me just kind of like giving you, well, my thoughts, dangle thoughts. But I want to hear your thoughts. I want to see what people think. I want to see what people, how people look at the world that might not be that clear to me. That'll be interesting to explore. And just reminding everybody that if you do have some ideas, either discerning or interesting, that we can maybe investigate together, you can either come to TikTok to Danny Goller, or you can come to Discord to our community, and through that you can find my name there, and you can call me on there, and I can bring you up, and everybody can hear you. So, and we can kind of do this live. Chris is saying, this is what I was saying. We need more feedback from people to talk about the frames and moving forward with the best foot forward with whatever the conclusion of the group. True democracy. Let's see how that works. I like it, Chris. Do I think the symbols could be a scalar waveform? I highly doubt it. The truth is that I have no idea, of course, but my intuition tells me no, not really. Interesting thought, though. Beyond the simulation, well, that refers to Aaron. How are you, my brother? Beyond the simulation, there's information of light. I like that. It's inspiring. What failed? Wait, what failed? I want to know. Space was made in a Hollywood basement. That's true. Before Hollywood, there was no space. That's a known fact. If you think you're a simulation, you might be. Clever. Simulation does not mean fake, though. So there's that. Democracy? Yeah. Fails every time, baby. But we're going to keep trying. America, fuck yeah. Water. America is all about health, baby. Music? What about music? I love the handle. Jesus's first phone. By the way, yeah, that's a great handle. Actually, if Jesus had, if it was the second coming, do you think Jesus would need a phone? I mean, nowadays without a phone, how is he going to post anything? Am I playing or not? Unfortunately, I'm not. I wish I would. 60% it works all the time. Exactly. It's what is it from Bad Boys 2? My shit always works sometimes. I mean, that this quote is not limited to one place. It's kind of like it's an old running joke. I'm not Jesus. I just have an understanding about exclamation mark. You mean understanding of Jesus? New age following of Jesus. There you go. What's up, Brandon? So yeah, if you guys feel like telling me about your frame, it doesn't have to be today. It can be today if you guys feel like it. Thank you, Guru, for putting our Discord group here. I would love to hear about it because I would like to analyze some and see what we have in terms of ideation around this. What are my thoughts on Gematria? Have you ever looked into all the connections with politics and even with movies and music? It's statistically impossible for it to occur naturally. So first of all, the sentence "statistically impossible" is not a real sentence. You can use statistics in so many different ways to skew the facts. Also, just to offer maybe a guiding principle to, it's not a principle, but maybe an experiment that they did that we're going to offer as a balancing point to this. Gematria, to anybody who doesn't know, is in the Hebrew, all the Hebrew letters have numbers attached to them, and you can make a lot of calculations and make predictions and things like this. So what's interesting is that they took the book Huckleberry Finn, and they did all the predictions that they did through Gematria in the Bible, in Huckleberry Finn. That's the truth. Which means that if you have a large enough body of work, you can basically find any patterns you want in it. That's the conclusion. Now, does that mean that there's nothing there? No, but makes it less likely that it's necessarily that, right? What I will say is that your brain interacts with patterns in interesting ways. One of these ways is playing with information in creative ways that sometimes give rise to understandings that nobody expected, including the person who was trying to make the predictions through these creative ways. And I think that's where Gematria can kind of come into play. It's true that there's a lot of very interesting games you can play with it. That part is true. And I would even go as far as to say that I'm of the mind that there is some information instantiated there. But I think the truth is that where the information is really instantiated is in your being, in your mind. So you can basically make it with anything in the world, but this does not mean that the information is not real. If the information is applicable, so all predictions are meaningless if you're telling me about them later, right? After the fact. If you want to make a predictions right now, so like everybody always kind of thinking about like, oh, this is crazy and this is crazy, but you always hear about it in retrospect. I have yet to see ever a case where somebody said something now and says, okay, let's record this, and then later they said, see, that happened. I've never seen that happen. So if somebody wants to step up and do that, by all means. Until that moment comes, I'll stick with what I know. The question was about Gematria and predictions with Gematria. You just did what, Rez? I've done it through dreams. I have proof. No. Don't give me proof in retrospect. Tell me something that will happen to you in a dream, and then tell me before it happens that it's going to happen. None of these stories about what happened before, none of that. Give me next time something happens, I believe you, but that's what I'm saying. I've never seen a case once where somebody steps up and says, here's what I dreamt today. Watch what this means in a week from now or in a few days, something will happen. If you can do that, I'll be very impressed. Jason Brasher's is a math program called Opus that predicts all sorts of things. Again, great claims. I want to see specifics. Yeah, let's make predictions. Simulation theory and string theory are same from a different angle. One has nothing to do with the other. You can have simulation with string theory. You can have string theory without simulation, and vice versa. With, without, they're completely orthogonal to one another. What's up, Jacob? But if you want to come on and talk about it, that'd be great. Wait, if I told people at work about the code, I'd be clowned on for eternity type thing. Well, until it's substantiated to actual science, and then you would be someone who was in on it early. What is a frame? Good question. I think it's just a perception of the world that guides your decisions. That's one way of outlining it. I have an app on my phone where I write down my dreams, keeps the date when it was written. Awesome. Again, let's project forward in time. Not something that you had a dream about a week ago and then it happened yesterday. Something you have a dream about today and happens a week from now. That's where it gets impressive. Let's get it on record. Come on the show. Let's put it on record and let's test the claim. All predictions serious, as I have the same opinion about. Well, thank you, Jacob. I appreciate that. I have dreams about plasma lighting up the sky and tsunamis flooding the coastlines. Well, that's terrible. I have a prediction that you're wrong. If I ever have a dream about you, I'll let you know. I've had precognitive dreams several times throughout my life, but it's usually around emotionally charged events. There you go. Just don't come on the show and say I have 1 week to live. I prefer not to know that. Chili Shot is saying a claim. Thermonuclear scattering that space expands, not curves. Equals mass is related to distance. Separation of the objects. Then what would I expect to see in solar system structures? Not sure what this means. Sorry, Chili Shot. Earth making weird humming noises. That wasn't Earth. That was me. Yes, I've read The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. That is definitely fun science fiction book. This book is so wild. There's a claim in the book where somebody's walking in the forest and trees just disappear and then people disappear. I was like, what? And then there's no justification for it. They're like, yeah, that happened. No date, no names. It's just, oh, by the way, we're basing our case on the fact that somebody was walking in the woods and trees disappeared. Huh? What? What the fuck just happened? I don't, I don't know if this book made it to printing press. What are blue electric dendrils? Let's see. Blue electric dendrils. I don't even know what that is. That's so cool. Image is great. Depending on context, in the natural world, bioluminescence in oceans. Listen, the imagery is dope. So I don't know what that is, but it's really great. What's up, Impact? Can't change the date. It's on the app. No, I understand. But again, that's my point. That what happens with predictions usually, I think, is that you see possible scenarios, you see possible world lines, but the second that you the second you state it to the world, I think, and this is a testable prediction, but this is why I want to put it to the test, right? I can be wrong about it. My testable prediction would be the second you're going to say it, it's not going to happen. It's a testable prediction. That's because that's why it's usually for you, right? Because you see world lines, but the second you decided something, it kind of it removes that possibility for some reason. That's my observation. But we can test it. There's no scientific studies there that pass any serious analysis. I mean, the book is okay. It's not the best written book. I know a lot of people love it. I don't quite understand why. Just because it's a very mediocre book, in by any means. There's no like brilliant insights there. There's some attempt at statistical analyses of like things. For example, like one of the central claims is that the second we create ideation around something, it starts becoming the thing. So basically, it's saying, how can it be that scientists predict this crazy thing, and all of a sudden that thing becomes true, and then they predict this crazy thing, and then this thing becomes true. And anybody of a little bit of scientific training will tell you, it's like, what do you mean? That's literally attesting to the power of science. Like, it makes predictions that are the result of critical thinking about what something means. That's why it comes true. But then in the book, they're trying to kind of like fold it into, no, but like these possibilities are way outside of the realm of what science could possibly know. And then they kind of postulated it, and it becomes the thing. But that's literally an untestable claim. Because if you're saying anything that you're cognizing becomes the main thing without any adherence to what there's like an external reality of some sort, you're basically playing an infinite game of impossible to verify ever. You can't differentiate between that and what we think the world is, at least in the classical term, right? I'm actually of the mind that yes, the world is at bottom mind, but that kind of outline of the world being mine, I think, is a very it's a very caricature way of looking at it. It's a very down version of it, because again, there's the obvious things that are completely ignored in the book, right? At least for periods of time, even if you want to postulate that whatever you think or we think collectively becomes the possibility, you still have to contend with the fact that for a time period, there's a momentum to whatever is already. So it doesn't matter how, if 20, 100, 2,000 people in a room believe they can walk through the wall. I'm willing to put all the money I will ever make in my life. None of them is going to walk through the wall. I know some people are going to bite the bullet here and say, no, 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 there's some cases. No, there aren't. And if you think so, you can go and test it. And if you're saying no, but in some possibility, well, listen, go and prove it first. Like people can just, there's as many theories as there are people, right? So the reason that science does things the way it does is because people love making shit up. So it's like, okay, you can say all, instead of arguing all day about what's true, what's not, what is more plausible, go and test it. The fact that you can walk through the wall shows you that the idea that just everything that we think about in consensus becomes the real thing is bunk, because you can't walk through the wall no matter what. So why is that? Even if you want to say that there's some actuation in the future, this part cannot be ignored, right? So it's kind of, it becomes like this empty, uh, I don't know what to call it, but it's like this like circular masturbation of nothingness. And again, it's like, that's why I don't understand the gravitation towards these books, because they're saying nothing. They're just literally saying nothing, to my mind, of course. I'm in a spicy mood today. If you guys haven't noticed. Yeah, there you go. Rez says we will eventually walk through walls. Good luck with that. What about spoon bending stuff? All nonsense. Sorry, I know I'm like kind of like shooting down a lot of things here, but come on, guys, this is magic trick is what we're gonna is what I trickle down to. Again, Uri Geller was debunked in the most shameful way. I don't know what is this resurgence in the interest of this stuff. Like it's complete nonsense. I don't understand why we need the nonsense when there's so many amazing, incredible things. CIA files walking through walls technique. Come on, girl. Come on, man. This is like, come on. Well, yeah, telepathy might have reality to it, sure. Not bending spoons. Happy new moon to you too, Coleo. Well, I'm glad to hear Tiny Elevator. Truth is stranger than fiction. Yeah, and bending spoons isn't that strange. It's just a bunch of yahoos are like, woo, come on. Yep, Dean Radins definitely did some important work. There's no question about that. You know that one of the easiest techniques to do the spoon bending is literally going like this. See? So you're literally bending the spoon inside of your hand because you can't see it. So you're literally just moving the spoon. This is- Wait, Jacob is saying, join the Discord. Sorry to ask. Could you provide a rundown on the code of reality? Is this referring to zeros and ones, making up reality? That wasn't meant to string theory open. Yeah, so the open and closed strings do not necessarily amount to zeros and ones. M theory is a lot more complex than that. But no, the code of reality is referring to a discovery I made a few years ago. Basically, if you project a diffracted laser on the surface and you ingest, I can't say the name, but the spirit molecule, you will see what seems to be self-executing code of some sort running in the surface. That's basically the gist of it. It's not zeros and ones. It looks more kind of like in the movie, actually, weirdly. It kind of looks like Japanese and Hebrew, kind of like a mixture of it. And these lives that we're doing, aside from days like these, which I'm on in a very spicy mood and I'm just basically shitting on everything, and that's okay. That happens. That's but like with flavor, like not with hate, with flavor. All the things I find truly silly. Hopefully, it's entertaining to some degree. We usually talk about science, religion, spirituality, philosophy, God, and all the things that are implied. That's kind of like the summation of the channel. Is the moon luminar or made of matter atoms? Everything is made out of atoms. Atoms are just the excitations in the fields that we perceive as particles. All of these things are absolutely solid science. Exactly, Jacob. Jacob saying, don't even need to heat up the spoon. They are weak and flexible. Easiest way to bend the spoon is to stick into some ice cream. Then hasn't thawed yet. There you go. So my brother, whoa, what? Okay, that's serious, Brendan. First of all, I'm really, really sorry to hear this. This is terrible. Um, yeah, I'm glad that you could say a prayer for him one time. I call it the Matrix, but I had to stop because of Andrew Tate. And Andrew Tate, Andrew Tate tainted the word Matrix. Is this reality's logic? Of course, most stuff like precog dreams, spoon bending, pseudoscience is not real. But I still like entertaining these ideas only because most of our senses are limited. Yeah, the thing is that some of these things are real. It's just that it's unfortunate. It's very difficult to discern because there's so much nonsense out there. You know what I mean? There's a book I'm about to start reading called Experiment with Time that apparently teaches you how to see future events through your dreams. Well, when you succeed doing that, tell us how. That'll be interesting to learn. I hear you, Brendan. What are the insectoids made of? Are they also made of atoms? No, I think they exist in some kind of a cyberspace of some sort. It's unclear. Pure information, maybe. I don't know what that means, of course, but enjoy dinner, Ebony. Always good to have you with us. Definitely understand what you mean now. Thank you for sharing it with me. I am going to be sure hanging out. Awesome. Well, welcome, Jacob. I'm glad you joined us. You can watch my first video on the subject. If you scroll down in my videos, you'll find a video with a thumbnail with a guy with VR set. That's the first video I ever put out on the subject. I'm glad you agree with that, Brandon. I use lucid dreaming to work on my technique while hitting the punching bag. Are you a boxer? That's really cool. That actually heard really works, that you can imagine yourself becoming better at something just by envisioning it. That I didn't hear. There is some research on this. The topic tonight is me shitting on everything. No. I'm just kind of like very spiky today, but that's okay. We'll embrace it. Talking in general, started talking about frames, and now people suggesting bending spoons. So, you never know. CJ Webb saying, Dango Thoughts is a freelance web developer. I would like to donate my time to revamp your site if you are interested. Very interested, CJ. I would really appreciate it. And if you do so, when we do get the full funding, we will absolutely make sure that you also get paid what you deserve. But currently, yes, if you can help us with the website and revamp it, we're constantly trying to kind of like crank it up. And every time something intervenes and we have a million things to do. So if you are willing to offer your work, that'll be extremely useful. So yes, absolutely. Please email me to dangoprox@gmail.com about this. dangoprox@gmail.com. There you go. That'll be super, super useful. Thank you. Oh, perfect. Thank you, brother. But that specific email, if you can, because this is all my work related, like business related stuff. Like this one, I see right away. Other emails takes me sometimes a day or two to get to. I want peace in my dreams. Don't we all? Yeah, let me see if I can find it for you. I'm already doing it, so you don't have to do the work. I'll find the link for you. Here it is. Boom. Shareable link. There you go. This is the first video I ever put out on the subject. On TikTok, you guys have it in the link tree, I think. What I mean by frame, Val, is just your kind of like perception of the world, the thing that makes you do what you do in the morning. What is your frame? How do you perceive the world? My frame is that humanity is destined to explore space-time through also exploration of our inner space. So kind of like we're about to embark into the stars kind of thing. And that's a mission worth having as a species. They must have different laws of physics or no laws at all. Well, no laws at all. It's impossible because then you're just going to have chaos. Definitely have other laws of physics, yes. Even the guru gets spicy from time to time. Spoken by the guru, so we know it's true. What's my take on UFOs, UAPs, real or something else? Real, but to my opinion, which is I think in this community, it's a hot take. Just so you know, most of my own listeners don't align with me on this. They think I'm absolutely wrong about this, and we're still friends and we love each other. It's all good. But I think that 99% of the people in that space that talk about it don't know the first thing about what they're talking about. That's my take. Thank you so much for the gift, 111N. I appreciate you. Thoughts on stoned ape theory? Absolutely. I mean, that's Terence McKenna is one of my heroes. And by the way, today somebody sent me a Gallimore was on Dennis McKenna's podcast, and Dennis asked Andrew what he thinks about this gentleman, Danny Goller. Is he onto something or is he nuts? I mean, why are those mutually exclusive? I don't understand. That those were his words. That's great. I was called potentially nuts by Dennis McKenna. That was great. Is this the laughter of a nuts person? Come on, man. That's not true at all. But yeah, stoned ape theory, to anybody who doesn't know, it's a theory that Terence McKenna came up with that basically our prefrontal cortex was developed. One of the biggest mysteries in evolutionary biology is how our prefrontal cortex grew so fast in evolutionary terms. I think it's like in like 100,000 years or 50,000 years, we had this like enormous growth of the prefrontal cortex, which is unheard of in any other species, or especially in primates. So the short version of the theory is that when the savannas became what they are, before that they were more populated, but there was more densely growing trees, and then trees kind of disappeared. So then, what we were 2 million years ago, maybe, or maybe even earlier. I'm pretty bad with that timeline stuff. I think it's either 2 million years or 4 million years. Somebody can correct me here. But when we started climbing down from the trees, it's probably way earlier than that, right? But anyways, you know what I mean. Whenever it is that happened, maybe 10 million years ago. I actually don't know. But it is like in that vicinity, between 10 million years and 4 million years. I should probably know this. But when we started climbing down from the trees, as the primates that we weren't humans yet. But basically, the postulation is that one of the things that was very abundant, because there was a lot of cows around, was cow dough, and in cow dough what grows is magic mushrooms. So the theory, the stoned ape theory, is that when our tribe started kind of like trying new foods, they tried these mushrooms, and they did three main things. The first one, this theory is kind of neat, to be honest, in terms of execution. The first thing is that when you eat some of them, your visual acuity goes up. We know this for a fact now. So you would be favored by natural selection because your visual acuity goes up, so you become a better hunter. So you out compete and out hunt other species. So you're favored by natural selection. The second thing it does when you eat a little bit more, your libido goes up. So you want to have more sex. So you have more offsprings. So again, natural selection favors you once more. And the third thing that happens when you eat a lot of them is that it expands creative and metaphorical thinking, which is what Terence thought maybe also helped develop our prefrontal cortex and linguistic abilities and all of that stuff. And that's what gave us the ability to invent and all of these good things. So that is that in a nutshell. And what's interesting is kind of like how he breaks it down later, where he says that what would probably happen, first of all, the tribes were a lot more orgiastic because it kind of it dissolves boundaries. So anything has to do with property or mine kind of disappears from the picture. So then you don't really there's not that much competition. Everybody kind of raising the children together because nobody really knows whose kids they are, right? Because it's always like it's kind of like everybody are fucking everybody kind of thing. But then later, when there were a lot more of us and a lot less mushrooms, what basically happened is that they had to preserve them somehow. And the only rational postulation about preserving anything back then without refrigeration is, I don't know why I can't pronounce this word properly, but you basically you could preserve things in honey. You can put in honey. But what happens to honey after a little while, when it ferments, it becomes mead, which is a form of alcohol beer made out of honey. And then with our newly evolved prefrontal cortex, which is a very powerful tool, but with a dissolved ego, that's a pretty good tool. But then, according to Terence, because we started consuming alcohol, when you introduce alcohol into the picture with this new tool, I don't know if you know this, but all primates are controlled by the male. That's just how primates are, right? It's male dominant. So anybody who thinks this is some kind of a social construct is just delusional because it has nothing to do with humans. It's just the norm for primates. Okay. Um, Even by the way, people always say give bonobos as an example. It's like controlled by the females in that they're not monogamous and they just kind of do whatever. And females are very promiscuous with bonobos. They're kind of like I guess you can equate them to um, polyamorous. But it's still the mechanism by which the society is controlled is still by the male, because what happens is when the males get a little bit too aggressive, the females immediately just swarm them and have sex with them, sex with them. Now that we're definitely going to be flagged now on TikTok. It's really funny. All the females having immediately a lot of sex with that male, so that male relaxes. That's the way they control it, which is sounds like a pretty sweet deal, right? But it is the mechanism is still the male. So it's the fact that the male gets to calm down is what kind of controls that society. So it's always male dominant. So the point is that when you reintroduce the ego and the male dominance, now added the really smart tool that was evolved because of the mushrooms, now this is Terence's idea of why we descended into history. That all of a sudden all the plights of humanity that we know today are due to the fact that we all already had these like amazing tools, but now the ego came back into the picture and alcohol was introduced, and then surplus was introduced. The second agricultural evolution happened 10,000 years ago. Now you had like, oh my God, like now you have things to protect, and so it goes. That's the stone the ape theory in a nutshell. And obviously, I don't know how much proof there is of these specifics. I'm not an expert, but it tracks pretty neatly. I like it, if that's the question. It is Terence's theory, yes. Let's see what else we got here. And thank you for the gift once again. Escape is saying, "Hi Danny, not sure if it's been debunked, but have you seen the symbols on a sphere found in Colombia? I believe they call it the Bogosphere." Yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm on record saying that in 2025, unless you have a 8K video of you standing with the thing, pointing to it, looking at it, I'm not interested. It's, of course, nonsense. By the way, just to make it super clear, because sometimes I say things with so much confidence about it. When I'm saying what I just said, what I really mean is that, to my perception, that's what it is. Can I be wrong about it? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And if tomorrow there's evidence that produced that shows otherwise, I'd spin on a dime. I'll be like, hey, yeah, I was wrong, no problem. But if I have to put my money on it, the way that these things propagate just seems so silly and nonsensical. And I don't like wasting my time with this kind of stuff. Thank you, Terry, and have a good night. Could we do a pod sometime? This is my personal account, but I have a pod on Apple and all other great guests. What you can do, Jacob, is you can send me a proposal on dengoprox@gmail.com, and I'll look at the podcast if it kind of aligns with the thing. The truth is that currently my schedule is pretty much booked for the next 4 months. But there's always windows that kind of pop here and there. And if it's good vibes and good people, I don't really care how many followers you have. I'm always down to have a good conversation. If I have that time, that slot, it and I have to like allocate another hour, hour and a half, yeah, with pleasure. So just send me all the information about a Dengo Pro X at gmail.com. I'm converting my camera to infrared, and I'm going to try to get evidence next time I try. Please do. You have been mentioned in a few recent podcasts I listened to. In each case, they were just freestyle talking and the code, and then it came up. Majority of the people are open to concept, not ridicule. Yeah, no, yeah, I don't actually take even the ridicule personally. It's just kind of funny. The funny thing is about it. This is an, I guess it should be right obvious, and I spoke about this before. But I had this quote unquote epiphany on when I was on 5MEO, and again, it should have been obvious to me, but I just started laughing because it was so funny in that moment. Because in five, you see how everything kind of arranged. The logical, the most obvious things become extra obvious. And the thing that made me laugh that was so obvious is like just in the case of Dennis, which is of course he is a legend, right? But he's like talking to Andrew, asking him about me. He can easily bring me to the podcast and ask me about my work, but he's asking everybody else, but they're not asking me. It's like, what did I do? just ask me to come on the podcast and we'll talk about it. I think ghosts are just universes bleeding into each other. I guess you can think of it like that. I think it's a little more complex than that, but overall, probably. Has been genetic manipulation. We did evolve. Oh, but there were help to make the jump to human. Can't understand the comment. Or to speed it up or add some material. I don't know if I understand, J. Paul. There has been genetic manipulation. Oh, you're talking about the stone ape theory. Again, I'm not a big fan of these theories because they're messy. If somebody see life has a very interesting property, which is that it kind of self executes, which is really nice and neat. It has like a trajectory. The second you start like doing this thing, and it's like somebody came to do this thing, it's like, for what? Like it's just so like it just doesn't track. Like there's nothing there. All right, Jacob. South America is coming hard with ancient tech. They need more tourism. So, not surprised. Mass space relation in solar system, how large objects as Jupiter, Saturn mass would be this distributed locations. I'm late, but I'm popping in and to say what's up. Hope everyone are good. Thank you, Miller. Get me on that podcast. That's okay. I'm okay. What is correct will come. Don't worry. What a novel idea going to the source. Talking about Terrence or which one? What are you talking about? Chill shot? I bet you can get on tinfoil hat with Sam Tripoli. It's a bit slow to be honest, but a good. That's okay. I'm not searching for podcasts. It's whatever comes on the road. It's nice, but currently I don't really have that much time anyway. So if there's like nice or big podcasts, obviously, yeah, it's a good thing. But like overall, I'm not really searching for them too much. Just how we come to Zeus and teach wildlife and enclose them. Yeah, but we're here. Where are they? Wasn't the Stone Ape theory on the basis that mushrooms want to send spores to space? One of the postulations of that theory is that mushrooms is they're basically the kind of like very advanced civilization tool that they spread throughout the universe that is kind of ringing the bell when a species ingests it. Yes. So one of the postulations is that because we know for a fact that spores can survive the coldness of space, we know this for a fact, and they can survive the impact of a meteor hitting the ground. They tested this with a special gun. They put mushroom spores in it and they shot it with the same amount of force that a meteor would hit the Earth. And then they wanted to see if it's possible that spores would survive the coldness of space. There we go. And survive the impact. And we discovered that both are true. So the idea is that it's possible that if mushrooms, there's some kind of a, like if you imagine that in the subspace of space time, there's some kind of a, like in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy sub ether internet kind of thing. So there's the mushrooms that kind of like the channel there. It opens the channel. So they would just spread spores all over the universe. It doesn't matter how long it takes. And then these spores will eventually find some planets and they end up on the planet. And if there's any evolved enough species on that planet that ingests the mushrooms that grow from the spores, that kind of like opens a channel. And then when a sophisticated enough of a mind interacts with it, it sends them a signal and goes, "Yo, we found one. There's an intelligent civilization over here." That's part of what they thought was possible. What visualization looked like? Yeah, real. You can go to our Discord community, and we have some people drawing these symbols. Find the link in the link tree. We have a Discord, beautiful Discord community. Code of Reality, come join us. So you think something created the simulation and a philosophy. There are two main things that right being and becoming. Would you relate those things to being dynamic or static? I don't. If you can clarify, Turtle, because I'm not quite understanding what you're asking. Mycelium is the largest living thing on Earth. Fact. As like to do think there is an absolute a substance that's in everything like God, to view it as dynamic and fluid, something become like will to power. I think I kind of understand what you're trying to say, Joel, but I really not quite getting to the bottom of it. If you can just clarify it and just put it in one message so I can address it. Brandon said, I thought spores died under 32 Fahrenheit. Maybe it's different in a vacuum. No, I know that they tested this. Let's verify. Let's find out because I did hear quite a few times that they verified this. Maybe it was some kind of a rumor. Let's find out. Was there a test that actually checked if mushroom spores can survive the cold of outer space? Wait, why is it not giving me the answer though? First of all, yes, there were tests. Why is it taking it so long? I don't know. It's thinking. Top evil icon. Homogeneous fungus. The O3 always takes a little longer. Okay, so yeah, ChatGPT is saying yes, fungal spores have been deliberately exposed to the cold vacuum radiation cocktail of outer space, and many survived. Although none of the published experiments used the large Basidium myosite mushroom spores familiar to cultivators. Several projects tested hardy microfungal spores, penicillin, aspergillus, or Basidium, and proved that eukaryotic spores can remain viable in orbit. I don't know if they did it with psilocybin, but at least in principle, it is possible. So already an interesting thought. Sigil saying space doesn't exist. There you go. Therefore, everything is fake. Some fungi can control certain insects to position themselves in a way that's most efficient to release spores. So I'm thinking mushrooms use other beings as vessels to a certain degree. Certain mushrooms, but so are a lot of parasites. I know they love to put it in shows, but ultimately that idea is incoherent because there's a lot of things that do that. What about large planets? As Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, how mass distribution would look like in this case? I don't understand what the question is. Okay. Yeah, usually most of Jupiters are hot Jupiters. Most Jupiters in other solar systems or Jupiter-like stars, planets, are closer to the star. That's true. But there's definitely outstanding cases. Ours is one of them. Does simulation theory suggest a god, or is it reflection of Nietzsche's will to power? No, it definitely reflects a god. Yeah, it's just that God probably is not what we think it is. What's crazy is most solar system gas giants are close to the sun. Yeah, exactly. Not far away. Binary, yeah. There's a lot of in an infinite universe. There's a lot of cases of a lot of things, guys. It's not weird. Um, I think how what how it suggests a god. I mean, then you definitely have a simulator, right? That's how it suggests a god. But we'll address this and more probably tomorrow. I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna have to adjourn. If you want to follow me across platforms, it will be Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram. It will be Goller Danny on X. It will be LaserX83 on Twitch and Dango Thoughts on YouTube. DANGO Thoughts on YouTube. Come join our Discord group, the link to which you can find both on TikTok and on YouTube. Come check out our website, codeofreality.com, in which you can find our merch. This beautiful mug that helps the project. And this shirt. And also the lasers and all the good stuff. We're finally, man, the tariffs thing was so crazy with the diodes, but we finally have them on the way. We set up with insurance this time. We ordered them like 3 times, so we're getting them soon, and we're able to ship up all the lasers that already were ordered. So appreciate you guys. Also, if you want to join the membership program on YouTube, it will give you early access to all my content. I have a podcast right now with Andrew Gallimore, #2, that is available for members only. And if you become a member, Thank you so much, Evil Icon. You can see it now. If not, you'll be able to see it on Saturday. Also, will give you access to private things from my life that will exist nowhere else but in YouTube members. Weekly lives, aside from the daily lives, that are also included with the membership, in which we go much deeper into subjects. We run through different videos, papers. It can be mathematics, it can be philosophy, it can be spiritual stuff, it can be aliens, it can be whatever you guys pick. That hour is for you. That actually, it's usually 2 or 3 hours. But also, if you sign up from the second tier and up to the membership program, it will include Zoom calls with me once a month, which I highly recommend because they're a lot of fun. We get to interact. They're not that expensive. You pay like $7 for the whole month or something. I don't remember what it was. But then you get access to me directly and we chat with all that fun stuff. So that is also included there. If you do that, said do, make sure you email me to lasersimulationx@gmail.com, lasersimulationx@gmail.com, and let me know that you signed up for the second tier so I can send you an invite for the next Zoom meeting. All right, guys, I appreciate you. Gotta bounce. Peace and love. I appreciate the moderators, Ebony and Chris and Guru and Jessica. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Beautiful moderators. Appreciate all our community members, Evil Icon, J. Paul, all the regulars and all the new people. Jacob, welcome to the community. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for everybody who wants to support and help. It's really, really appreciated. Love you, brother. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Ciao. Good night, everyone.